Probably expect someone like me to just be playing video games all day after making a video, but yeah, that's not the case. I've spent the last 12 hours researching different Linux distros and flavors in terms of what I can do. I'm kind of surprised by what I found out, actually. I was originally looking at Ubuntu because it looked like it was going to be a really good operating system in order to use, but then come to find out they have a sketchy history. It's even more interesting actually when you see how many people defend them versus how many people don't, and the tug and pull of back and forth on people saying, no, it's not that bad, or don't worry about it, oh, it's almost nothing. And then so I spent a couple hours today. And for those who don't know me, hi, my name's Matthew. I do cybersecurity. I'm joining the Air Force for network operations. I'm super excited for that in the upcoming days. So then I decided to check out Parrot OS. But then everyone says you should go to Pop OS. And Parrot OS from that point is just Debian. I don't think it's relevant enough. Okay. Then you hear Parrot is absolutely not a desktop operating system and damn sure not for gaming. Then I saw this one. Parrot has a home edition for normal people. Callie made a quote, if you use this as your actual OS, you're a moron, quote, an official guideline, so I assume its spiritual successor would be the same, which in that case would be Parrot OS. Which is where I landed on Debian. Not anything fancy, just Debian. That's it. And then what I'm going to do on top of that is I'm going to also bring on KDE. So the goal of this video is essentially start off a very kind of long process, if you will, and kind of do a walkthrough with it if you want to actually go on this journey with me. Without further ado, let's get into it and let's start working on my wonderful laptop. So if you're like me, you probably already have a Windows installed. So during this entire process, you can basically rinse and repeat everything that I'm doing from start to the very end to get the exact same output as me. So you can see right here, I have a really awesome looking USB drive. It has Vintoy on it, so I already have a few different OSs. But let's start from the beginning. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to grab something such as Rufus or Belina Etcher. From there, you're going to download Etcher. You're going to download Debian like we're going to do right now. And once you download Belina Etcher, you're going to click on Flash from File. You're going to pick the ISO. You're going to then select the target, which will be your USB drive. And then after that, you're going to click Flash and you're going to wait until it says finished. When it says finished, you can pull it out and it's ready to go, to which then we're going to now resume at the laptop. So now what we're going to do is we're going to turn on the laptop with our USB inside, and we're going to spam the escape button to get to the boot menu. If you're using Vintoy like me and you did a YouTube guide just so you can have a bunch of different ISOs, you will have to disable secure boot as of last year. But then from there, we're going to see that we in fact do have our USB drive there. We're going to select it by hitting enter. And we're going to be choosing what we want. In this case, I have quite a few of them already, but we're just going to pick the Debian version. It's going to ask us which version we want to boot into. We're going to pick the normal mode. It's going to ask us how we want to install. And from here, we just go through the installation. So I'm going to pick graphical installation. It's going to ask us for the language. We're going to go continue. We're going to pick the United States. We're going to do American English. Now it's going to ask us which one we would prefer to use for the installation. We're just going to pick the wireless. It's going to ask us to select a wiring network to use during the installation process. In this case, I'm going to pick one. And I was going to attempt to exchange keys with the access point. And here we get to pick the host name. In this case, I'm going to name it Faith Laptop. Or for that matter, let's just leave it as Faith. Make it a little bit less obvious that it's a laptop. Here, we'll just leave it blank for the domain. And now we can set up a root password and user. From there, it's asking us to put in our full name, but we should be able to just skip that. And now it's asking us for a username. So in this case, I'm just going to do my standard Rick by Faith. and continue. Now it's going to ask us for a strong password that can't be guessed for that user account. Now we're going to be picking in our time zone. In this case, I will just choose Central and I will continue. Here it's asking us what it wants to do with our disk and what we would prefer to do it. In this case, I am going to try and do a guided, use entire disk, and set up an encrypted LVM. It's going to ask us where we want to set it up. We're going to choose our NVMe. We're going to separate home, var, and temp into separate partitions. We're going to write yes, and we're going to continue. All right, now what we're going to do is choose a very long and detailed passphrase for the encryption. One moment. Now we're going to pick the size of the volume. In this case, I'm just going to leave it the same, considering it's the full size, and we're going to continue. We get a breakdown of our current configurations as to how much is going to equal what. Seems like everything's in order, so we're going to hit continue. It's asking now if we want to write these changes to the disk. We're going to say yes instead of no. We're going to once again pick the United States Packet Manager, and we'll be picking the top archive mirror. We're going to skip this step, and now we're going to wait. Now we're definitely going to hit no here, or else we're just canceling out everything we're trying to do here. Now what I'm going to choose on this part is I'm actually going to toggle KDE Plasma. We're going to make sure to uncheck GNOME, and we're going to hit continue. I'm presuming as well during this installation that this is not going to just install GNOME with this being checked, considering GNOME was checked. Online it says that Debian desktop environment, at least a couple years ago, meant that it's just going to install GNOME. But considering these are all ... and GNOME was already auto-selected, I'm just going to go off of the assumption that KDE is going to, in fact, be the main desktop environment. Because otherwise, I would imagine it would be a bare metal, if you will. So let's see how this goes. Okay, it says it's finished. Now what we're going to do is remove the USB drive. And now we're going to press continue to reboot. Fantastic. Here we see the boot up. We're just going to press enter. Or just actually allow it to go through since that was too slow. Now it's asking us to please unlock it. We're just going to be typing the password now. There we go. For the record, that was the password to de-encrypt the hard drive. And now we can log in. Here's KDE booting up. So it seems like KDE was in fact booting up correctly. So let's take a look at this. Here we're going to make sure that it stays all the way on disabled. Otherwise, as we can see here, it will give as much information as we want to give them, and we don't like that. And now we're going to finish. And there we are. Now we have our own desktop environment set up and ready to go. And already right off the bat, the reason why I picked KDE is because it kind of looks like Windows immediately. So now that we're actually able to mess around with our laptop, what we're going to do is do some basic hardening. So first things first, we're going to go here. We're going to type in terminal. And right here, we're going to do su-. This is going to ask us for our password, to which then we're going to type in. Please keep in mind that this is the root password. I'm just going to zoom in on that a little bit more here to make this a little bit easier. And what we're going to do is we're going to do sudo apt get install UFW. Now, I've already done this. You can do -y at the end as well, just to already approve it for when I ask you a prompt. And this installs a firewall. Then from there, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to type sudo UFW status just to see what's going on with it. I see it's disabled. I'm going to do sudo UFW enable. Now it's active and on, but if we take a look here, there are no rules. So what we're going to do is we're going to create some rules. First things first, we're going to type sudo UFW default deny incoming. Then we're going to do sudo UFW default allow outgoing. Then from there, we're going to do sudo UFW allow out 53. Now we're just going to press the up arrow on our keyboard. 80, 443, and finally 123 for NTP. Then what we're going to do is we're going to type sudo UFW force enable, just that way the firewall does take permissions. And then what we're going to do is we're going to enable logging, just in case, sudo UFW logging on, just for later. Now, something I want to show you guys here is something that I recently discovered, which is called LibreWolf. We're just gonna try and get through this here as best as we can. Guess we're going DuckDuckGo. If we're allowed. Oh my god. Oh, give me away! There we go. LibreWolf. Here we are. And it's a custom version of Firefox focused on privacy, security, and freedom. And we can even take a look at the source code if we want, which is quite nice, to be honest with you. But nevertheless, we're going to take a look at the installation here. We're going to see a Debian-based version. And we can see right away that we have some commands that we can run, which I do agree that we do need to be running the update command, but I guess we'll get to do that now. We're going to immediately go back to our user instead of the root account and paste. It's going to ask us for the password. And we're going to run this under the root account because our user account doesn't have sudo permissions. There we go. Now it's finished installing the first part. Now we have to do the next part. Paste. And it's basically copy paste. This is a really cool part about Linux is usually it's just copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. Windows, you have to run exe, but over here, it's just copy pasting. And it makes you look cool because you see a bunch of flashy things going down your screen. Once that's finished, we'll see a new button at the bottom left called LibreWolf. And now we have our new web browser. Sure enough, it's already installed with DuckDuckGo, so we won't have to deal with that nonsense Google BS3 again. It's basically Firefox, but on steroids. We can even see here that uBlock Origin is already installed for the extensions, and we can configure it and customize it however we please. But now let's do some customization. So how do we do that? Well, we're just gonna quickly show our desktop by clicking the corner of our screen. We're gonna right click and we're gonna go to display configuration. Then from there, we're going to scroll down to colors and themes. And from here, we get to choose either one of the current options or we can press get new. Personally, I like to take a look at these to see if there's something relatively interesting. Keep in mind that these are all different and have different styles. So it will completely change how your interface looks, how your login looks, just about everything. And then from there, you can customize further. So in this case, if you want to look like a Windows 11 computer, you can grab the Windows 11 theme. It's really whatever you'd like. So I'm just going to take a look through this and figure out what I want personally. It seems that I quite like the Sweet KDE, so I'm just going to press install. It's going to ask me for my root password. And alas, we run into our first issue with Linux. So we can see here what the error is. It's saying that it could not install the dependency. So I'm just going to do a quick Google search and see what that means. And sure enough, it's basically saying to try and make this directory. So we're going to try and do that really quickly here. We're just going to paste that command, make directory there. and then downloaded this file from the KDE store. We're going to make sure that is the exact same file. Let's put it into our downloads folder to begin with. Let's open up a terminal here. See if we can actually go to this directory. Let's try to make the directory then as a user actually. Fair enough. And I just realized that you weren't able to see the entire time what I was doing. So essentially what I'm doing here is I'm checking to see if the path is there, and I'm dumb and realize that it does exist for this directory. As soon as I do check it, so I'm like, okay, let me go through this, and here enough, I'm going through the pathing for change directory, and now I'm moving the file over from the downloads over into the desktop themes. I found it, so now I'm copying the file from, so now I'm moving into the directory, and now I'm going to extract it. We do that by typing tar-xf, and then the file name. All right, let's take a look here. And we can see that it is now there. Let's see if this is going to show up now. This might require a restart, so that's what we're gonna do. And sure enough, now we can see Sweet Amber Blue appear. So now pressing apply, we can see that changes have now happened onto our screen, and everything looks quite different. Last but not least, I think we should change our background. And there we have it. We have our very first configurations for our Debian, and already installed a pretty safe web browser. So we'll see how it goes. I'm probably gonna customize this a little bit more. Might play with the different themes and such and figure out what I wanna do from there. If you guys have any configuration scripts, anything of that nature that you suggest I should run in order to continue hardening this laptop, or if you feel like certain firewall configurations should be different, yada, 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 so on and so forth, leave me a comment, let me know. I'm gonna look into sandboxing and how that works in terms of doing it for web browsers and such, because this laptop I am going to take very seriously in terms of security and try to keep it as safe as possible from the evil data stealing monsters. So if you like this video, make sure to drop a sub, and until next time, or tomorrow, depends on when I upload. See ya.